although I was the one that wrote, my life blew up. So and it's like, and it was conspiring to not let me be here tonight. And I said, oh no, y'all not. It is the one thing you are not taking this away. The one thing that provides me with immense joy and pleasure. And it's like, everything else can fall apart. This will not.
Not tonight.
So y'all figure it out. Miss Barbara Brock, how are you today?
I'm okay, thank you. I'm a bit tired also, but I can lay in bed and be present.
Great, great. And then Miss Belinda Williams, good to see you in the house. How are you?
I'm okay. My mom is in the hospital, and I've been going back and forth, with her. She's in Emory Midtown Hospital in Atlanta, Georgia. She just had bypass surgery, but she's coming along. Thank you for asking.
Oh, good. Good. We'll keep her in our prayers.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah. I'm familiar with Emory Hospital in Atlanta. So it's a good hospital.
Oh, okay. That's where she's at.
Mm-hmm. And then Belvedere, how are you today?
Oh, I'm fine. Thank you so much, Dr. Blessman, for asking. I'm Belinda's auntie, and that's my sister who just had single bypass.
Okay, okay.
And I'm exhausted because it's been an ordeal here for me. And she is improving. But it's a lot. It was a long journey for the last 5 days.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, well, single bypass, I mean, that's, it's better than having to do a quadruple. So
yes, it is.
Okay. So we can be thankful for that, even that it was just one and not all 4 or 5. But again, we'll keep the prayers. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Okay, and then Miss
Dr. Blessman.
Yes.
I was going to ask Christy. I sent her a message. Can you host, Christy?
Yes, ma'am. I didn't see your message, but I will host.
Thank you. Take over the host duties. Yes.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you, Christy. Yeah, because it's hard to talk and host at the same time. Let people in and stuff. Miss Carol Blaylock, right? How are you today? It's good to see you. Good to see your name in the. Let's see if I can switch to the gallery view.
Hello.
Hello.
We have ice.
Oh, you know what? Oh, here we go.
We have ice. We have ice, and that is not nice for us here in Memphis.
You mean you have ice on the streets?
Yes.
Oh my goodness. In Memphis?
Yes.
Y'all not used to that, right?
No.
Amongst other things that's going on in Memphis.
Exactly.
And now you have ice. How are things going on in Memphis, given the recent developments with Tyree? Is it staying pretty calm, or people protesting, or what's happening there?
It's pretty calm, and I can just say, when things have happened here before, anytime there has been any type of violence, it wasn't because of the people that had organized protests. Every time something happened, it was because the police actually instigated the violence. If anything broke out, you always have people who take advantage of a situation that don't have anything to do with protesting, actually. But as far as the actual protesting itself, peaceful protest, and all of that, it was just people out, doing what they needed to do.
Got you. Got you. Okay. Okay.
I was
Um,
wondering how the weather is going to impact things on tomorrow.
all right, right, because the funeral service is tomorrow, right?
Yeah, it said our church, Jim Johnson and myself attend the church where the funeral is being held tomorrow.
So you have some connection to the family and the community. I mean, a closer connection than just simply being a part of the community. Go to
No,
the same church.
I don't really know them personally or anything, and I don't know if it's just a situation. A lot of times, you know, people will hold funerals at our church just because of the size of it. I don't really know
Oh, okay.
how that connection was made. June, do you know them? I don't know them to be members of our church.
No, I don't know either. I thought that maybe they were using it because, like you said, the size.
And,
Besides,
and also because the eulogy is being done by Reverend Sharpton, and our pastor is a part of NAN.
okay.
So that may be the connection, may not be. I don't know.
Got you. Okay.
It is daunting, you know, just when you can put yourself in a place, because I know exactly where that is. I've driven past it times. I know people that live right there in the neighborhood. And just to think about how it's not new though. I mean, it's not a new development. That is police culture here. I can remember as an 18-year-old being followed by a security guard from a neighborhood that I guess we weren't supposed to be driving in, and coming outside the house, and 8 police cars are outside my house because there was an attempted burglary in the place where we had just driven through. And according to them, the security guard from the neighborhood said that we looked like we picked up the suspect.
Y'all look like y'all picked up the suspect.
Attempted burglary.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
And I'm
Well,
far from 18 now, so like I said, that's been the culture here for a long time.
for a long time. Okay. Okay. Well, yeah. Well, we will be keeping, the city and the family in our prayers as well. I mean, this has impacted folks all across the nation. So, and you're right there in in the heart of it. I don't know what more I can say.
Thank you so much.
Okay, Dr. RV, how are you this evening?
Thank you so much. How you doing, Dr. Blessman? I'm here. I think my feelings and emotions are among the rest. And in addition to all of the sadness, it was just so upsetting to hear on Fox News a guest, middle-aged Black man, I don't know who he is, who was on Fox News saying that all of this is happening to the shootings and killings and beatings because of Black women.
What?
Yes, you may be able to pull that up. I just had to walk away. But he emphatically said all of this is due to Black women. So I'm just here to, it's outrageous. It's just outrageous.
Right, because it's like,
can I add hey, good evening, you guys. This is
good
Cato.
evening, Dr. Cato.
Hi, Dr. Cato.
Hi, can I add a alternative perspective on that?
Sure.
Because I'm speechless. Go ahead.
You're talking about this gentleman I'll have his name in a minute.
His name
Okay.
is Jason Whitlock.
That's
Yeah.
it. That's it.
Yeah, that's it. One, I pulled away something different from that. Not that it was the fault of Black women, but that the Black family, these young Black males, all of them, he appeared to be disappointed with all of them, and he was saying that a lot of these young Black males are having difficulty responding to authority figures because of the lack of male presence in their homes. And when the women, being the Black women, being the only ones trying to establish some sense of authority, if you will, and saying that they're unable to manage these guys.
Wait, you know, Dr. Cato, that would have, if he had used that as his explanation, but to start off his comments saying that this is the fault of Black women, he specifically said
that.
Yes,
Because-
yes, he did. He said that exactly.
Okay, so I got a paraphrase. Someone sent me a paraphrase version of it. And that's not what I heard him say. But if you heard him say this is the fault of Black women,
Yes,
That's a problem.
Yeah, that is a problem.
anything after that for me, right?
Yeah.
Because you
Black
lead
women
with
get
that.
blamed for too much already.
Exactly.
Mhm.
And then we have to figure out how to get through that one Black man on late night TV. I can't think of his name, but a couple of weeks ago, what's his name, Doc? The young Black man that teared up and was saying that Black women have been outstanding and everything that happens in
Oh,
America.
Trevor Noah.
Yeah, Trevor. Yeah, he was saying that, whatever's going on, we cannot afford to F around and find out what the real deal is. He just kept saying we can't afford to F around and find out whatever it is. So we don't need to be blamed for anything. I looked at it, and I'm glad I did not hear him say what you're saying. But I looked at it more as him talking about an indictment on the lack of male presence in the home.
And I want to weigh in on that because when you listen to what actually happened, he obeyed their orders. When they told him to get on the ground, he said, I was on the ground. He complied with everything. So it wasn't that he wasn't, responding to their authority. He definitely was.
Well, at what point did
And
he
he still got killed?
But at what point did he get up and run away? This is what I'm trying to see. At what point?
After they started beating him.
After they put that pepper spray in his face, if you watch the
Twice.
video, that's when he attempted to run away. I mean, but even in my opinion, even with him running away, that still was no reason for him to be beat down like a dog.
No, it's not.
There's nothing humanitarian about for a traffic stop. So there is no excuse for their actions. They're like street thugs or gangs with badges and guns.
Mm-hmm.
And like like the mother said, they've embarrassed themselves, their families, the Black community. And what they have in store for them is not going to be pretty.
No.
It was almost, if the little part that I saw, that how they beat him in the face, it was personal. And I have cop friends, I have cop family members. They're all telling me that they think something else is going to come out. It was like they had a personal vendetta against that young man.
Well, I heard that it was something personal, but the source is not. I heard that it would come out later. The
Yeah,
source
me
is
too.
not one of my typical reliable sources, but of course, you know, it's a matter of the heart.
Right.
So they said that, you know, see, I still haven't seen a real clear. The videos that I'm seeing are still too sketchy, but yeah, they're saying that that he was involved with someone, and someone that one of those guys knew.
I heard that. I heard that also.
Okay, so
And I
it'll
did
come
too,
out
but
anytime.
even if he didn't share that with all of his buddies, it'll also come out that he drugged them all down with them.
That was horrible.
Yeah.
It's not just authority, it's the respect, just the respect that you as an individual, even if you call yourself doing your job,
Yeah.
you know, you don't put another individual in harm's way like that.
Yeah.
They were one of the guys, somewhere it was said that, you know, they weren't trying to kill him. You know, you cannot do those kinds of things and put a person in harm's way like that. You know, we had a student actually 3 weeks ago. She kicked another student in the head. What is wrong with you? What's wrong? That's part of that under 30 group. Y'all remember, we don't trust anybody over 30. Right now, under 30 is suspect to me. Okay. Kick another human being in the head.
I think what's going to come out is some of their background that was never checked out. I mean, you know, there's no way you could be a teacher and people not check your credentials. I mean, what is the criteria for us selecting officers nowadays?
Well, I think that you might be onto something there, Shirley, mainly because they so quickly disband this group that these guys were in. See, 9 times out of 10, somebody probably came up with the idea that if, in order for this group to function properly, they had to have a certain kind of knowledge of the street, be of the street if they were going to be monitoring the street. And they probably grabbed some people that might not have stellar, if you will, backgrounds. There's a reason why they quickly disband Scorpion.
And if he hadn't died, I mean, they were already practicing their responses. They were saying, you know, he went for my gun. He, you know, they were just making up stuff right there on camera.
He was resisting. He seemed to have all this energy. This, you know, he was
on drugs. You know, they created a whole narrative. You know, he was acting real aggressive. And they asked his mom when they went to the mom's house, you know, does he take medication? You know, so they were creating, but I think they've been doing this. They weren't anticipating God's will to be done. You know, the man died. So now everything that they did is not involved.
On one of the news stations, I heard that they only had 3 days, this unit only had 3 days of training. How can it be?
I can believe it. Hi, Barb. I can believe it.
Well, my thing is, I'm not sure if when his mother got there, just like his mother said when she got there, his neck was broken, and he was already gone. So I'm not sure if the whole thing of her comment and him being hooked up to machines, why was he still so bloody looking 3 days later when mama came, right? So I'm not sure if that whole thing wasn't just from Assad, because those officers were hanging around that room trying to make sure he didn't die. Or what was their narrative gonna be if he did die? So they were trying to pull their stories together.
And then how they kept the white officer that tased him, they
Yeah,
have kept him hidden
right,
purposely.
right.
But that has
I
come
bet
out.
you he went in there and spilled his guts and told them everything to try and protect himself. So that's the reason why they probably let him go first or put him on administrative leave so they could hide him and they wouldn't kill him next. Okay.
They put him on administrative leave, Miss Walker, let's be for real, because he's a white man.
Oh, I know the whole drill. I mean, it's obvious to all of us. You don't have to pee on my leg and tell me it's raindrop, okay?
Yeah, we heard that story several ways.
A lot of ways, and it's so unfortunate.
It is so unfortunate, but Rashad Ritchie here in Atlanta is staying on this. There are a lot of people who are staying on this NAACP. There was another citizen who was beat up allegedly for no reason by this same group, some of them or all of them, but he called and reported twice their actions and nothing was done. And so if what they were saying, if something had been done, perhaps this murder wouldn't have happened. Who knows? But the whole point is nothing was done.
But I believe as long as there were no deaths, they could put their own narrative.
Oh, absolutely.
And I think that that's what they so casually was doing on camera right in front of us, which is what they do all the time. They think about it at the end, and then they start saying, oh, well, he grabbed my gun. Oh, well, he spit on me. Oh, he pushed me. Oh, I mean, we were watching that in action. It was on tape. So,
you know, Shirley, I went through this is RV. I went through a citizens police training so many years ago. And one of the things we had to do was to do a ride along with police officers. That particular day, I had one that I was riding with, and he wanted to know my background and what did I do. And so once he knew that, he opened up and said, you know, we really need help out here. He said, I'm telling you what I know. We need some psychological help because most of us are in really, really bad shape. We need some people to talk to. And I said, well, you have the opportunity to go in. He said, nobody wants to do that and be singled out. But if the department made that available for everybody, he says, that is what we need. And that's been about 4 or 5 years ago.
I don't know where it went after that.
Well, that just sounds like the military. When I went to go work for the Army years ago, and their Surgeon General told them it was okay for them to all come and get psychological help or debriefing. None of them are going to do that because that impacts their promotion.
That's right.
It impacts everything. And
right.
still, I have written a lot of financial stuff I'm not going to go into for this group of veterans that were in the conflict or the war, the last one, so that they could receive psychological assistance. But do people really use it? No, they don't. Most of them are not even going to talk about it. And Dr. Ada Jo, you on the phone, you're a veteran. A lot of them have problems talking about it. So, I mean, that's the same thing. The police are the same. They behave as the same as the military. I was just telling my friend that a lot of them have PTSD, just like the military. They see too much. They are never debriefed. They don't have enough officers anywhere in the United States now because of all of this negative press, but all of the other factors that are going around, whether it's pay, regardless, whatever it is, all of them have issues, and they all have psychological issues.
Well, they need to come off, you know.
They need to come off, but it's like, okay, how are you gonna fill those positions, Miss Shirley? Because they literally have a problem recruiting.
But I mean, it's like, you know, if you don't have a man, you don't go to the homeless shelter. And
well, I mean,
pick a
I
bomb.
agree with
So,
I agree with you, but it's like it's a lot of issues that they have that it's none of it's being addressed.
well, I think we've analyzed enough. I think it's time for action. It's time for a game plan. And
It's been time for that, but how many of our senators are going to step up, or our congressmen, and actually do anything?
I think we
They
have to,
don't do anything when it comes to issues on the federal level. So what are they going to do as far as their states? When, again, and Michelle, I don't know if you left, again, this is always my complaint. You have to hold your elected officials accountable. You have to hold their feet to the fire.
I think we have to realize the root things, and why the culture is what it is, why policing was established in the first place. So that mentality is there. And also, who they are arresting and why they are arresting people, and not just arresting, but why they feel like it's okay to brutalize people, is part of that root of, you know, police departments were formed from, you know, from slave patrols. And so that mentality is there.
I agree.
And policing is profitable.
I agree.
Prisons are profitable. And that is why the people in Congress don't want to do anything about it, because so many of them are probably profiting from private prisons.
And plantations, yeah.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay. So I lost connection there, but Shirley, you're right on point, and this is being illustrated maybe about by statistics. About 2 weeks ago, they were reporting some astronomical figure of suicide by police officers. I can jump and look it up while we're online, but it was like a 100% increase in the number of police officers who have committed suicide. One of the things that they can do, though, with the whole bravado thing, as it relates to, I don't want to be stigma, having this to have the stigma, excuse me, of asking for or receiving therapy. There are things that you can do in the name of therapy that don't have to be necessarily called quote unquote therapy. So I think that this situation here might help to force some of our legislators to bring about some change.
Well, the George Floyd bill is already passed the House. So what is the Senate waiting for? we now have more votes in the Senate.
Okay.
It's time to move on that. And just like I continuously hear, and I believe nothing is going to happen until the people make this happen. You cannot just protest for a few days, a month, 2 months, 3 months, and go back and sit down and wait for something to happen. It is not going to happen. And to hear that over 100 people are being killed every month in this country, for no reason at all. I mean, when I say no reason, no justifiable reason,
Sure.
is unconscionable.
You're correct.
I mean,
You
where is
remember the young man that was killed when he had the air freshener hanging in his window
Yeah.
over his,
Oh,
you know, we can go on, and I'll identify wrongful killings. And it's always over something minor, some minor traffic violation. So what I am happy about is the quick actions, because I think that would have facilitated riots with people lying in our face and saying they need time and we need time to process this and we got to figure it all out. Their quick action. But also that quick action was to hide stuff. So I don't know. I don't know if it's going to be done in our lifetime, but something definitely has to be done.
Well, if the energies don't change, if the energies don't change in this world and in this country, the lifetimes of everybody will be cut short. Because what kind of life can you live if you are constantly behind locked doors and in fear? Exactly.
Right. Right.
Dr. Cato, I hear what you're saying, but that's why I wrote a lot of what we call cost benefit analysis and sent them up to the chief of the staff of the Army to fund for mental health stuff, because we were having soldiers killing themselves, hundreds every month when they came back. But if nothing was done really except for throwing money at the problem, and you yourself know because y'all are in that field, we don't even have enough psychologists and psychiatrists to fill all the positions we need at the Veterans Administration.
Yeah.
Okay. And I can tell you that because I came from the money place, and I'm telling you that I took that personal because I have so many veterans in my family. Okay. So it's like, if we can throw money at stuff, but until we hold our congressmen, our senators, our representatives responsible, nothing is going to be done.
You're correct.
my point.
I was just suggesting that they can call it something else. They can do some things. They can do some group things and just different things and give it another name.
I
It
agree.
will help open the door or serve as a segue to help them to start addressing some of the and coping with the strife that they're experiencing.
Because in the African American community, we still don't accept the fact that we need to go to a counselor. I mean, we still
You're correct.
trying to talk to people about getting help, what that looks like. Yeah, and the insurance, I know back in my time in the 70s, they weren't even covering it.
Correct.
So where was the stimulation for you to go and couldn't afford to pay the cost of sticking with the therapy?
Yeah.
So, but there's a shortage. You know, I don't know. I'm doing lots of praying and reading my Bible right here.
Good for you.
Mhm.
Good for you.
When God gets
Yeah.
sick and tired of us, Lord only knows what he's gonna do. I hope there is not a flood.
As well. So I wanted to go ahead and let that conversation roll because it is something that for many of us has been top of mind. It's been part of our conversations this last week, and certainly has been something that we've been talking about either to our family, to our friends, to our children, and what have you. So I just wanted to go ahead and let that roll. We're not just here to talk about COVID. COVID is here. But also to talk about, how just in terms of living our lives and the stresses that we're experiencing in the midst of this pandemic also impact our health. This week we were going to, I know I didn't say hello to everybody here. I hope you don't mind because it's already almost 8:00. With this week, we were going to talk a bit about who has been impacted by COVID the most. Last week, well, I wasn't here last week, so last week's topic was supposed to be about caring for our elders. And I know several of you have had elders who have come down with COVID, and you were in the midst of doing some caretaking. Many of us really are elders ourselves because we're over 50 and they consider us elders. I don't know if Michelle showed you the slides that are put together last week, but it was we looked at the last 3 weeks and the data from the last 3 weeks. And I'm going to pull that up. Huh? So my screen should be on. So can everybody see the screen?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, great. So, we've seen this, but we were watching what the data looked like, with XBB, and on the 7th, and then the following week on the 14th, and you saw it growing and growing. And then we took a look at, now you probably saw this last week, when we talked about how, although hospitalizations were falling, death rates were rising. And then they rose again the following week, and then rose again on the 23rd. And we raised the question of, why are death rates falling? Why are death rates going up? Why are they going up? And hospitalization and case rates are supposedly going down. This week, the death rate has finally started going back down. Certainly not as fast as it went up, but it is. We hope that that's a trend that keeps going forward, that they continue to go down. And as you notice, on January 29th, our 7-day average was still not, it does not reach the peaks that you see in October of 21 or January of 22, and certainly not January of 2020 or February of 2020. So they're still staying relatively low. But, we know that people are basically trying to say COVID is over. And I wanted to show you something. This, if you're not following Dr. Eric Feigl-Ding, it's probably a good idea to follow him and follow his Twitter page. Let's see, hopefully this will play. Come on. Can you hear it?
Yes.
Good. So, Dr. Eric Feigl-Ding has long been talking about the fact that, as a government, we're still not taking COVID seriously.
Can you put his name back up?
Yes, Eric Feigl-Ding. Check out his Twitter feed.
Okay.
And usually the stuff, he has something on Haystack, I believe, Substack. And it's the Eric Feigl-Ding Journal. Please do follow him.
Okay.
In terms of precautions and in terms of the safety measures, we're probably far ahead of that group in terms of what it is that we know what it is that we know to do. Okay, but he does have other good information about the virus and how the government is responding to it. So at this point, we know that when we talk about who's most seriously impacted by COVID, in terms of deaths, only 20%, I should say only 20% of the deaths are occurring for people under 65. And even at its worst, it looked like there may have been at one point 35% of deaths occur for people under 65 somewhere around July, September of 2021. So we see that the biggest bulk of deaths are occurring for older people. And when you say older people, that means that includes me. I'm 65. I'm 66 going on 67. So I am in that group. About I want to say a year ago or some time ago, we talked about how do we know when COVID is over? And we talked about it would be over when we had a cure for COVID. And you all know we don't have a cure for COVID. An effective vaccine that would prevent the transmission or the infection or getting infected by COVID. That hasn't happened. The vaccines we have now hopefully only keep us from dying from it, but we don't have a vaccine that really works as a vaccine in terms of stopping infection or transmission. So there's going to be no such thing as herd immunity, and probably not going to be possible with an mRNA virus. We talked about COVID being over when we return to pre-COVID levels of the flu. Well, last year, 200,000 people died of COVID in 2022. Prior to COVID, in a bad year, the flu might kill 50,000 people in a bad year. So when we think about what is this country saying right now, and what are they not just saying, well, how are they behaving? They're basically behaving in a way that suggests that we're going to just learn to live with 200,000 people dying every year from COVID. That's going to be the new normal. And that 200,000 people that may die from COVID are mostly going to be people over the age of 65. So I know I'm over 65. So where does that leave me? Where does that leave most of us that are in this group? that care for people that are over the age of 65. Many of you care for people that are over that age. If either you are that age or you're caring for somebody over that age, what does that mean? It kind of means what you think it means. You know, we know that they're reducing the funding for research, for treatment, we know that some of the treatments are no longer, well, because the virus mutates as much as it does, we know that some of the medications that they had for like immunosuppressed people, like Evusheld, no longer works. And they're not necessarily taking a look at how they're, about researching other options or spending money to research other options. So what does any of that mean? It means that, if you're gonna have to take care of yourself. They're ready to sacrifice the older people. And
May I say something quickly? I read where President Biden is going to make an announcement May 21st to say the pandemic is over. That was just the weirdest thing to read for me. And also, I read today that the guy in charge of World Health Organization said that we have to continue to fight against this is how it read, against misinformation about the pandemic. We have to continue to fight about all the misinformation.
what does he mean by that? Is misinformation now saying things like the pandemic is not over? What did he mean by misinformation?
It's not over. And we should be still very concerned about it.
So why doesn't he address any of those issues? Why don't we see the CDC on the news? Why don't we see the Department of Agriculture or anybody saying anything about it except for the occasional service things that'll tell you to get your vaccination?
Right. Right.
And I feel when he's misinformation, he's including what's not being said about it. That you don't hear about it that much.
So we know that, they've gotten comfortable with 200,000 people dying every year from COVID, which largely be people over 65. They already know that life expectancy has been reduced. It's been the largest drop since in recorded history. It's been like 2 years. And they've seen that, and that's just as of 2022. So we don't know what's going to happen when you start looking at long COVID and what impact that's going to have on people over the next 5-10 years, or how that's going to change. And while it may look like it's impacting older people over the age of 65, long COVID is going to have an impact for those under the age of 65, for sure. So we know it's not over in this group. I know I'm singing to the choir in this group. We know it's not over, but at the same time, it also means that we're going to have less support external support for moving forward to battle this pandemic and what it's going to mean for us. I'm taking it personally. And it's also some of the reason why, we started to take on a much more secondary and serious focus with building up our immune system, having Dr. Tates come on, and doing everything we can to make sure that we have good quality health and longevity going forward, because the resources are not going to be there, we don't think, in terms of the government and in terms of healthcare resources and that kind of thing. This group has done just such a tremendous job in gathering information and researching, gathering information, and just keeping everybody sort of ahead of the game in terms of what to do, not only to prevent getting COVID, but also if you should get it, how you can maintain your health and bring your body back to its fullest health as possible, given that you've had COVID. But we also understand what that means in terms of and what new stressors or what new issues that's going to raise for our insurance policies. Like when Shirley mentioned that your insurance will only pay for like one time per year to have all of your blood work drawn. But if you've had COVID, you need to get it redrawn again to see how things change, or it might have changed, so that you can be on top of how did things shift as a result of you having COVID. And we have none of that in our, none of those changes are part of the medical, what's allowed medically. So only people that can get their blood drawn a second time will be those who be willing to pay for it out of pocket, which, it's going to create a whole nother set of issues. Ms. Blaylock, you put an article in the New York Times article in there. You want to share with us what you?
I was just putting in the articles. I can't remember who was speaking before about what the WHO was saying, the World Health Organization was saying, and also about the end to them saying that declaring that it's an end to COVID. And basically it's the same thing. It's about economics and perception and changing what the meanings of words are. And it's no longer going to be called a public health emergency.
Right.
I encourage everyone tomorrow to write an email to their congressman and senator about that, because that order should not change. Like that document that Dr. Eric, what's his name, Feigl posted,
Yes.
there will be a panic and different things will not be supported. So Biden needs to extend that, because they have not done their due diligence to get COVID under control. So everybody needs to call their congressman or their representative tomorrow, write them an email, send them a letter, but some kind of way you need to contact them. You have to put the pressure back on those people that are making decisions about all of our lives.
Yeah.
I would like to say something else. I had an appointment with an ENT doctor, ear, nose, and throat doctor. And before he would see me, I had to have a COVID test. And the health facility that I went to charged $350 for a COVID test,
What?
which shocked me so much. they charge Medicare
Should have.
$150
What, for a $10 test?
for a
My
COVID,
word.
$350.
For a rapid antigen test?
It wasn't the rapid.
But the key thing was they charged the insurance company. That's why you have insurance. So don't worry about how much it costs. Long as
Yeah.
you get it, right?
Yeah, but not everybody can do that, and there's always copays.
Mm. Well, certainly not, well, if it's a PCR, certainly not everybody's gonna have access to that then. So those people who are uninsured or underinsured.
Exactly.
Horrid, as far as I'm concerned. So now we have the money factor seeping in. You know, how can we make more money?
It's always been about that.
Yeah, but initially, you know, we were given shots, we were given tests, and so on and so forth. That's what I mean. It's always been lurking there, but now it's more prominent. Sorry you had that experience, Barb.
I'm here.
Thank you, Sandy.
Yeah, that's in that was in California.
Yes.
Okay.
Mm.
So the difference now is the government or your tax dollars were paying for all of these tests and, you know, the shots and everything, and now you have to pay for it out of your pocket.
Well, and the reality is it probably only costs $5, but they overcharge us for everything. Anyway,
Mhm.
if you go to the hospital and get a pair of gloves, they put on a pair of gloves to examine you. The gloves to the insurance company will cost $30 a pair, just using a number. And then they only pay 10 cents for it. So, I mean, it's been that way. You know, working in the medical field for 40 years, that's all I've ever saw them do, hospitals.
But that's why so many hospitals, Miss Shirley, are going out of business. They're going bankrupt. They're going under.
Right.
Because they didn't charge.
And I think if I could chime in, Eddie Joe's point of it was tax dollars and now it will be you. However, people who, I forgot who that was, that I don't know if it was Doc Jones or Shirley or someone who pointed out, now once again you have people who don't have certain types, if you will, of insurance. You know, it's going to be a problem for them. The only other option that I'd throw out there, Barb, if you should run across a situation like that again, you know, but you're a nurse by trade. Um, Exercise your option to, you know, seek another physician. Um, I cringe when I hear people doing putting people in boxes like that. Either you do this or I won't do that. Um, I don't know. That just doesn't, you know, you have people who, you know, don't even believe in taking shots and things of that nature. And I for one have struggled with the tests because they were too inconclusive. They were too they weren't they just weren't exact enough.
Yeah, I agree.
But Doc Jones, we need something to pick up this conversation a little bit. I was already feeling a bit lowly, if you will. We need to like turn a corner, do something. This is and it's generally difficult. You know, I'm always the one going rah rah. Come on, guys. You got to keep a positive mindset. Uh, so
Yeah, we need an energizer bunny to come into the space.
yeah,
But
we do.
but I'm gonna tell you, today I just don't have it because today my life blew up this last 3 weeks. Blew up. So I just, I'm here. My life blew up. Usually I'm the inner, I can bring up some energy and all that, but my life blew up. I'm living in the suburbs and I had to move.
Well, the positive thing is that we've all survived COVID for 3 years. Some of us that have caught COVID, we have all survived, and a lot of us were thriving because of this group, Dr. Cato. So it's I think we need to keep on that path, keep practicing our safety protocols, doing what we know is right. And I mean, we just have to fight the system back. We have to stand our ground and voice our concerns.
You're correct. And I do know
thank you.
Patricia was tangentially referencing some of us who have seniors who have fought COVID. My 96-year-old aunt caught COVID when she was 95 3 weeks ago, and last week she turned 96 and she beat that bad boy.
Yay!
Okay, so you are correct. This is my mother's
Yes.
sister. She she's suffering from a bit of dementia, but she knows me and she knows my sisters. And one thing that she knows how to do, well, two things. She likes to eat. She has a very good appetite, and she likes to laugh. Happy about that. And
that's good.
And thank you for reminding me that it's not always about us. Sometimes you look to others to find your joy. And we have people right here amongst us, like that pretty lady Shirley, who, beat that bad boy and, allowed us to follow her and listen to her and be our own personal case study. And everyone else has come in and shared, personal experiences and whatnot. Okay, I'm starting to feel it again, Doc. You want, I'm starting to feel
keep it going. Keep it going.
What I was going to say was, from my own experience, the fact that I had this community, to be brutally honest, I felt loved. I felt like people cared, they understood. I didn't have to hide out like I had leprosy on my forehead and I had infected other people. And so, I mean, this community that we have established is impactful. It's powerful. And we're taking care of each other. Because I relied on all of you to give me points on what I could do to try to save myself. Okay. What kind of juice do I need to drink? I mean, I had it bad at 70. It was scary. So the love is here. We just got to keep building on that.
Okay.
No, and because of you, Shirley, we learned a lot about, what it is that COVID wasn't over just because you tested negative on the antigen test, that you really needed to monitor your health seriously for at least a good 3-4 months afterwards for potential long COVID symptoms. I don't know if it was, and there was that discussion, that piece of the discussion about, making sure that you're monitoring your health that led me to when I saw the article about Al Roker. I don't know if Michelle covered that last week. It was in the slide. Did she cover that at all about Al Roker?
I don't
About what
remember.
happened to him?
I don't
Okay.
think so.
No.
Okay. So Al Roker got COVID in September of 2022.
Oh.
A month after he got COVID, he got blood clots that then traveled. And they called it COVID-induced blood clots. Okay. And he was out for several months. He had COVID in September. He got the blood clots in October. He just went back to work in January, like January 6th. COVID-induced blood clots. So when I was reading the article about him, it harkened back to what Shirley talked to us about how, and the seriousness of, you really got to monitor your health for at least a good 3 months after COVID, because all kinds of stuff can happen or jump off that's COVID related. So, you just need to be aware of that and, starting with getting your blood work redone, and then just paying attention to, what's happening, what has happened to your body as a result of having COVID. Sandra, your Aunt Murtis is, she's 92. I know you may not be the person that's 96.
Yeah.
May not be the person that's directly responsible for her care, but certainly, it would be wise of all of us, and for those who are watching out for her, to really strongly watch her health over the next, particularly in these following 3 months. I've been watching my health over the last 3 months, and when I say my life blew up, and I'm like, okay, I just had COVID in December. My life just blew up. I got to be real careful about making sure I stay on my health. I fell off the wagon a little bit with my water and taking my cleanser all and doing all my health stuff. But Eddie has been out there and he's been like gently nudging me to get back on my health routine. But all the things, I'm still in that window of time where, okay, I had it in December, so I know, March, I need to really be paying attention between now and March,
Absolutely.
And really focusing on continuing to do my health, my health regimen and I'm working on my health and stuff, even though my life blew up. So we've learned a lot. We learned a lot from, I think it was Miss Brown talking about, the challenges with her husband, and, with people who may not necessarily see it as seriously as, or Christy, when you were talking about your dad, where you're living with people who may not be as focused on the safety precautions, and yet, and they're bringing COVID into the home, or they themselves get sick. So we've had this community has given us lots of discussion, lots of points of view about how to cope, how to address various situations, and just being there as a support for each other.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. And Eddie Joe's chicken soup, Oh yeah. Well, the recipe, Shirley actually made chicken soup for me, y'all. It was the bomb, Yeah.
Yeah, hey Joe, your recipe is the bomb because I followed it to the T and added organic chicken and distilled water and just made it healthy.
Mhm.
Took it upstairs to Dr. Blessman and Steve, and I think they survived.
Yep, we did.
That's good to hear. Thank you.
Lots of energy. Okay, so I'm not going to, unless there's some questions or some, uh, some pressing questions, I'm not going to, oh, wait a minute. Let me take that back. So Eddie put into the chat, nattokinase. Is that how you pronounce it for COVID and long COVID release? What is nattokinase?
That's
Am I
correct.
saying it right?
Yes, nattokinase. Natto comes from the soybean, the Japanese ferment. They started this fermenting soybeans, and in my little research, it was just saying that it's good, but now it is a blood thinner. It's also a anticoagulator. So you have to, if you're taking any kind of blood medications, you at least talk to your doctor before you take it, but
Take it.
probably don't want to take it. But they say it's really good for long COVID and also COVID relief. And niacin, vitamin B3, the same thing. It's good for your lungs, and they were saying that now speaking of B3, I would personally, I would say just take the entire B complex. And me personally, I would also say take the liquid vitamin B complex. But just to add to what the research was saying on that, if you take B3 with baking soda, it's supposed to be phenomenal in helping your lungs get back and stay in good health. Any questions?
And for those of y'all who are, Dr. Tate's, he has something called Four Thieves. That is supposed to be really good for your lungs, but you would have to order that through him.
What is that called again?
It's called the Four Thieves. Now, many people make it, but he has his own version.
No, how do you spell that last word? Four?
Thieves, Thies, Four Thieves.
Oh, okay, yeah, I've heard of that. Thank you.
Absolutely. So first of all, I want to say thank you to everybody that chipped in. We have enough to bring Dr. Tate's in. We're going to try to do tomorrow when I'm going to talk with him about which date. It will probably be the 21st or the 27th. The 21st or the 28th. Next week, we're going to talk a bit about what questions you have. So I want to give you some time to think about the questions you have and the topics that you would like for him to discuss. So we're going to take notes on all of that and give that to him. I want to look at us doing at least once a month, having him come in to talk about health, focusing specifically on building up our immune system and reversing aging. Since most of us are in that over 50 group or caring for somebody over 50, we want to be sure that we're doing everything we can to make sure that we live all of the years that God has intended for us to live, and that nothing cuts short our time here on earth. And that we, live well for whatever years that we have to be on this earth. I'd like to, so we're looking at once a month. I just want to forewarn everyone that when Dr. Tates gives a presentation, it's usually a 2-hour presentation. He asked me to make sure that everybody was aware of that, that it'll probably be at least 2 hours long. We're going to make it a hard stop at 3 hours, because it might go to 3 hours, depending on how many questions people have. But I just wanted to make sure that everybody was prepared for that possibility. This week, Christy, Michelle and I are going to get with you around seeking outside funding for this piece of the program, so that we can continue it for the next year. And then during the off weeks when he's not here, I'd like for each of us to have an accountability partner and work on, as somebody else that you're talking to and working with your health goals. Because I think that that's really the next phase, or the next part, the final frontier, so to speak, of what it is that we need to do in order to thrive in the midst of this pandemic. Or even if it is supposedly over, it's here, it's endemic. We all have the tools that we need to protect ourselves from the virus hitting us. But I think the next step after that is making sure that we stay as physically healthy as we possibly can, and living as healthy as we can, so that should we get exposed, our bodies can fight it off. And I feel really, that is something to be grateful for. That the people in this group, we've had no one in this group that has succumbed or died from COVID. So, so that's all I got, folks, for tonight. Any last thoughts, words from anybody? We're good.
I'd like to say something real quick.
Sure.
It's a personal thing, kind of not related, but it's related to elderly. I talked to my aunt, my only surviving aunt. She's in her 90s, dealing with Alzheimer's. And I talked to her on her birthday, and she remembered me, talked to me for a good 10 minutes. And I laughed and cried the entire time, because she remembered me and talked to me like it was 30, 40 years ago. So I just wanted to share that and say our elderly are very important, and we need to keep up with them, take care of them, visit them, spend time with them, talk to them. And also our children, the same thing.
Right. Yeah, I mean, one of the beauties of knowing, having the safety protocols. I have 2 colleagues who are 92 and 93, and I would visit them, try to visit them at least once a week. One has dementia, and the wife is still sharp and, well, not sharp, but, she's still with it. And it was so important. It was important for me to be able to see them once a week and be a part of their social life, because that, it's important for them. And because I had my ionizer and I knew how to, have my skin guard and everything, I could still do stuff with them. I could still, I've got them ionizers. I would take them out to the museum. And I became a part of their social life. And, that's important. It's important that our elders not be isolated and not be left alone, because I think that will help. That contribute the loneliness and the isolation will contribute to them having getting sick. And I think the contact with other people and being able to connect with them safely helps us too. I mean, it certainly makes me feel good to go hang out with the Hutchisons and, and be with them, but also it helps them. So, what can I say? It was so good to see. I got to meet Sandra's Aunt Murtis at the book signing club, and she was just doing her little thing, looking all cute in her little suit and stuff.
Yeah.
She was, and but it was good to see her out She had her ionizer on and stuff, and it was just good to see her out and being with family and just being a part of the set, being on the scene, so to speak. And she enjoyed not only the food, but she enjoyed listening to Sandra's stories and the discussion around the book and all of that.
She did.
So we are all social beings, and it's important that, one of the things I mentioned was we'll know the pandemic is over when we can go to our so there was another one. We know this pandemic is over when we can return to our pre-pandemic living, but albeit doing it safely. And I think this group in a lot of ways has done that. I mean, we're pretty much back to doing our social activities, maybe a little bit differently. I'm not so keen about getting into crowds anymore. Definitely not, especially after I got COVID. I'm definitely not going to do that anymore. Definitely not. But yeah, but pretty much doing our own, our pre-pandemic, COVID, living our pre-pandemic COVID lives. And we hope that, that you will do the same, that you will be back to doing the things that you normally do, that you normally did prior to COVID, but just do it safely. Oh, I did have one more announcement to make. I'll have to show you the picture though. There's a product out that they're now talking about you can swab your nose with, and it's supposed to keep you from, well, your nose is a part of your immune system. It does filter out microbes and bacteria and stuff like that. And so I looked at somebody sent me a picture of it. They said, oh yeah, we swab our nose with this. And, it's supposed to help, keep your resistance. And I'll show you a picture of it next week. Well, I looked at the ingredients, and the ingredients was the same thing that's in our Skin Guard. So we don't have to buy a new product, y'all. Just take a little Skin Guard and swab your nose with it, and it'll do the same thing that this product is doing. And they talk about how it gives you 6 to 8 hours of protection and blah, 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 blah. So off-label use. And I'll show you the product next week. So, but you don't have to buy it because Skin Guard does the same thing. It's the same ingredients. Okay, so on that note, let's stop the recording and say good night to everyone. And we will see you next week. We'll have a discussion about Dr. Tate's topics, questions that you would like for Dr. Tate's to address. And then he's going to build our 12 unit session over the next year. So we will go through 2023 into, I guess, February of 2024. And I hope that, the end goal would be all of us would be, healthier and living, and having reached some of our health goals over the course of the next year, and be in better health, so we can fight it off. Okay. And he's also going to talk about some of the other threats that to our health besides COVID per se. Because of climate change, there are other things that are coming. So on that note, I'm going to call it a good night, and See you next week.
Good night.
We're
night,
thriving. The
Good night,
idea is
Dr.
to thrive. not
Good
just
night,
for-
everyone. We are thriving.
Good night, everyone.
See.
Night.
Thank you.
Good night. Thank you,
I
Christy.
appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. RV.
Thank you, Dr. RV, for introducing us to Dr. Tates. He's a godsend for real.
Thank you, Barb Brock.
Good night, family. Have a wonderful week.
Thank you.